go sleep, you no go die. If person say no, no na no. Take it for an answer and move on.
Let's say it's an uncle that was taking care of them, maybe taking them to school and back. It happened on their way to school, or a day when the parents wasn't around. They got so close with the uncle, and then all of a sudden he felt like that was a gateway for him to, misbehave. Some boys, it could be female maids at home that take advantage of them, especially some when they are still younger, and the maid has the responsibility to bath the child, and that's when things like that happen. So
Hey, welcome to the Triumphant Tribe podcast, a platform for inspirational and insightful conversations aimed at giving me and you positive outcomes in life. Here we talk about all things life, including finance, relationships, personal development, trending issues, and how they relate to young people. In our conversations, we share the life experiences of the host, guests, experiences of others, and even your experiences too, via listener letters. You can listen to the Triumphant Tribe on Spotify. You can find the Triumphant Tribe at Titi by Wiz on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, where we'll be having snippets and highlights of our episodes. Feel free to leave comments on specific topics you'd like the tribe to discuss in the comment section of our social media post. Thanks for tuning in today, and be sure to check us out every week for new episodes. Remember to subscribe and share this episode with others, as together we can make a difference. Alright, welcome guys to the final episode of season 1. So today we'll be wrapping up all of what we've been discussing the last 3 weeks. And then we'll just start first of all with an introduction of the panel. So I think Peter will start. If you've been listening to us, you might already know our guest. So Peter, Boom, Amarachi, then myself. So Peter, you have the floor. Quick introduction, please.
Hello guys, hello everyone at home. My name is Peter Akpan. I'm an engineer and also a freelance writer. So I'm so happy to be here. It's another weekend on the show. So you all should listen and stay updated. I love you guys.
You know that time we used to sing in children's choir, we say, listen and be blessed. Yeah. Boom, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Boom. I'm a cloud engineer, mix and master engineer, sound engineer, and a good day. Nice talking with you guys this evening.
My Oga. I'm a small man. Amarachi, please introduce yourself, boss.
you don't start to be rhyming. Hi everyone, my name is Amarachi Enuva. I'm a fashion designer, model, content creator, and a digital marketer, and I'm excited to be here. And our journey thus far has been amazing.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks very much. Amarachi is my boss, so no wine and say she talks say they wine up. So panel introduction. If you don't already know, well, I go by Chieftain, and I'm a son, a brother, future husband, future father too. I know be cloud engineer, only of those big names. I'm a small person. Over the last 3 weeks, today being the 4th, we've been discussing rape. We've spoken about rape and how it concerns young people. We've said it that the median age in Nigeria is 18.1 and the average age is 18.6. Nigeria relatively has one of the youngest populations. And then victims of rape typically fall from the age of 12 to 34. Perpetrators fall between 18 to 29 or so, 29, 27. Looking at how young the population of Nigeria is and the age range of those that suffer this crime as victims and those that perpetrate this crime, we can directly draw a line of correlation that gives reason for this discussion, especially at this expansive level. So we've so far spoken about relating rape with young people. We've spoken about the sensitivity of it, the effect it has on its victims. Had an extensive discussion on that. And then in the 3rd week, we spoke about false rape accusations, and quite coincidentally too, on the day we spoke about that was the day Benjamin Mendy's case was given a verdict. 4 days later, 5 days later, we had another one of Dr. Fumilayo. Today we'll be wrapping it all up because yes, this is the Triumphant Tribe. Here we have discussions that are focused on positioning youth for the best outcomes in life. Personally, I believe that as individuals, whatever outcomes we have in life as a result of our decisions and all of that, and decisions are best made when we have sufficient information. Today we're going to look at it. What can we do? What decisions can we make as a society that can position our young people for the best outcomes in life with regards to the problem of rape in the society, a problem that concerns young people? We're going to look at what can we do. First of all, before we even get to that, we're going to just start with a quick question. Is there anything that could possibly increase the chances of this crime of rape? Here we're talking about the victims. We're not even talking about the perpetrators in the first place. Is there anything that could increase the chances of it occurring? Because we've had discussions along this line before. We've said it that over time we've discovered that from data, women are the most victims. People of certain age groups too are also prone to being victims. Today we're going to look at it. Is there anything that could increase the chances of somebody being a victim of rape? I don't know. Anybody wants to go first?
Sorry, please repeat the question. Because my network started shaking towards the end of the
all of us in Niger. So I was saying, we looked at all of the things we looked at, and then we realized that there are some commonalities, right, between people that are most likely going to experience or most likely experience rape based on data gathered, people within a certain age group and a certain gender, of which in this case women are most likely to experience. So I'm saying, even in these groups, is there anything that could increase the chances for young people in this age group? Or if you're even looking at kids, like young boys, I said it also that way, we can see that young boys age 10 and just about age 10 are very likely to be sexually abused. Is there anything that could increase the chances, maybe around where they live, the kind of family they grow up in or something?
Yes, there are definitely different things that come into play or into the picture. First off, how involved are their parents in their upbringing? Because if your parents are not there to, guide you, you would be exposed to a lot of things at a very young age. And we hear, especially from female victims, we hear a lot of a family member raped them. Let's say it's an uncle that was taking care of them, maybe taking them to school and back. It happened on their way to school, or a day when the parents wasn't around, they got so close with the uncle, and then all of a sudden he felt like that was a gateway for him to, misbehave. Some boys, it could be female maids at home that take advantage of them, especially some when they are still younger, and the maid has the responsibility to bath the child, and that's when things like that happen. So if the parents are not so involved in their upbringing, they don't know what is going on in their lives, they're not so close to them that they are able to tell them things like, oh, mom, dad, this is what happened in my day. This is what uncle did. This is what auntie did. They'll be able to know when the situation is getting closer to that unfortunate experience. So if they're able to have a close relationship with their children, there's a very high possibility that they can prevent it from happening to their kids. Also, the environment that we live in also plays an important role. I heard a story of a lady that she was living in this area that had a lot of, area boys, and those ones, they all of them were trying to toast her. You know how some men, they're trying to toast a lady, she doesn't respond, she doesn't give them, the audience, they become aggressive, they start insulting her and all sorts of things. Some even go as far as plotting evil rather against the lady. So in this case, that was the situation. So she wasn't responding to any of them that were trying to check her. She was just ignoring them until almost all of them on that street had tried, and she ignored them. They now planned to rape her. And when it was happening, she did not even fight back. She just let it happen. That's how about 2-3 weeks later, one of them died. Then 2 now fell sick. They now had to go and meet her. What happened? Why is it that all of us that did this to you, something's happening to us? She said, when I told you that I'm not interested, you didn't want to listen. That she had HIV and AIDS. And because they all raped her, they all contacted it. And before I knew it, before the end of that month or so, the remaining of them died. So now, if she was in a safer environment where the people around her are not out to get her. Oh, this one is my type. I can, do what I want with this one. There won't be any need for them to do that to her. So if you're not in a safe environment, you're at risk for that kind of thing happening to you, especially if you don't have trustworthy men that are watching over you. You know how some people will have older brothers or even younger brothers, and they have sisters. They are very protective of their sister. So if people that don't really have that kind of love or support around them, there's a high possibility that can happen. And then the one that annoys me the most is when some people will say, oh, it's because of how she's dressed. She's attracting the men. That's why they are, trying to rape. Like, it doesn't need to get to that level. They are free to wear what they wear, though I believe that decency is key. I'm a Christian and I so strongly believe that decency is required. But at the same time, what she wears doesn't warrant you to act like that on her. I'll leave that there. What do you guys think?
What do I think? I think she's very strong, though. I mean, she carried the disease a bit. All this time, she never died. The rest just died like flies. Actually, you made very
Oh my God. She was treating herself. She was under serious treatment.
So
she knew not to joke with her health. So when she saw they were doing that, she left them.
You made very valid points. You said something about parents being involved in upbringing. Earlier this week, I was scrolling through Twitter. Somebody said that when she used to teach, that's how she knew that somebody's mother is called Oloribruku. I don't know how to pronounce it very well in Yoruba. I think Oloribruku means a stupid person or something. That somebody's mother is called that at home. So if you've taught children before, you know that a lot of the times, if you're teaching them in class, the things that happen at home, you will know in class as their teacher. I think if parents can also try to reverse the situation so that whatever happens in class, children can also tell you at home. I remember when I used to teach, although mine wasn't in the classroom, private classes, I used to start my sessions with just gist with the kids about their day in school and stuff. So that way they don't just see you as their teacher, they see you as their friend. They're always looking forward to that gisting time. I think this method is very good to know what had happened, but also it is also good to know, to let the children know what can be done to them and what cannot be done to them. Because in the case where you're gisting with them about things that have happened, it probably had already happened before they told you. But in a case where they know what should be done to them and what cannot be done to them, right? If somebody tries to do something inappropriate with them, they won't even allow in the first place. Or at least they will do something, maybe scream or something like that. Because some children are not even aware of what is happening to them. If you read stories, especially of young boys that were assaulted or raped by older women, maids or whatever, they most likely did not know exactly what was happening. It's maybe later that they got to know. So I don't know. Boom, Peter, do you guys have anything else to say with regards to who could be at a higher chance of experiencing rape as a victim of?
Sorry, just to chip in, to just like to add to what you said before either of them talk. What you said is very key, like letting them know what is wrong, what is not right, because when it's happening to them, they won't know that that's what's going on. I've had conversations with people where, in this case, it wasn't necessarily rape, let's just call it molestation, and they did not know about it because, sex ed is important for children when they are young. So if you don't give them this information, they won't know the kind of situations to run away from. And these are older people, like youth. And when conversations about molestation comes up, they're not like, oh wow, someone actually did this to me when I was younger, but I didn't know this was what it was. That's a result of the parents not being involved, because if their parents had told them, this is what this is what that is, they would have raised an alarm immediately it happened. So yeah, parents need to, be careful and very intentional about raising their kids.
Yes, that's very, very true. Especially in a place like Lagos where you don't even have time. Time is a big problem. It's very, very key to be intentional. So I don't know. Does any other person have something else to say before we quickly move to the next point?
Yeah, I have something to chip in. I think for me, there's a lot of factors that increase the chances of rape. First is age. Age comes to play here a lot because the younger the kids, especially in Africa now, most parents, once you are below the age of, they just call it 17 to 20, you can't even speak. So that stigma in quotes is already in use. So if an elderly patient should say something, especially in the north or in the southwest, I think it's really predominant there. So whatever the elderly person says, you just bow to it. So age has a factor to play in it. Alcohol and drugs. Nowadays, we witness young people doing a lot of drugs, from house parties to peer groups and the rest of it. Where I'm currently residing, kids are with what do they call it? These plastic bottles. I don't know what they call that one. They're always sniffing it. So once you take those substances in your body, man, whatever happens to you, you don't even have the strength to repel it. Another thing I would like to point out is people that have previously been raped. If something has happened to you before, if it's coming again, most likely depends on how it happened the first time. A lot of rape victims have been, beaten. Yeah, most of them have been beaten and battered before it happened. So a while back, I was discussing with someone, and the person said that, is it not better you just get raped, like in an instance that a thief just came into your house and you get raped, you just free your mind, and after you take the drug, is it not better than getting killed, maimed, or shot or whatever? So I think people that have previously been raped stands a high risk. They don't want to bring back what happened. So that's it. I still have some other points, but let me just end with poverty. Yeah. So nowadays a lot of things happen because of as the financial state of the country. So poverty definitely have a point here. That's why I encourage parents or guardians to make their words productive, so they can also have a thing to say for themselves. Because once you don't have money, you're always at the mercy of someone that can provide that help, and it can even be rape, you don't know, so it still increases the chance. So those are the things I'd like to chip in.
Yeah, that's very correct. Even that poverty can be linked with environment too. The story that Marachi gave, there are certain areas that cannot happen. There are certain areas that can happen. There's a man I used to know. He bought a property one time, a land, wanted to build a house. And then he said something one time that when he looked at that environment, he looked at the kind of people there. He thought about it. He has a baby girl that's just about a year plus. Is this the environment he wants his daughter to grow up in? After giving it proper consideration and looking at the kind of boys that were in that area, the man sold the land with the uncompleted building, bought a property somewhere else, and started his house. Environment plays a very critical role. I think even going down the discussion, we'll talk about security tips and all of that, depending on the kind of environment you're staying in. I think we'll just move to the next point. So what could possibly reduce the chances? Okay, I think we've killed two birds with one stone. So as a guy, we are three guys on this recording this night, and then one lady. So as a guy, what can you do about this situation? What should you do? It concerns us. Although at this age, we've already grown past the stage where somebody can easily molest you, except a fellow man, and most likely if you're in incarceration or in prison or something. But as a free walking person, you're really gone past the stage where you're at high risk. But even with that, you have people that you value, people that you care about. Even if they are not people, you don't have people you care about. If something bad happens to a neighbor, it's not a good thing. You will also feel bad about it. So as guys, is there anything that we can do to reduce these numbers?
Okay. I would say whatsoever chances there is actually to prevent rape. It's
boom. I think sorry, I don't know if you got the question. More like as specific
yes.
you as a guy, things that
as specific
you do as a guy.
Okay.
based on your gender.
Okay,
What you
based
could
on,
possibly do. Yeah, what you could possibly
I
do
think as a guy, first of all, I
to
will start with
protect to protect
sensitization.
wait to protect those that are at higher risk, whether as children or as young women. You get?
No, that's why I get you. I get your question. Primarily, there are people that actually see situations and, oh, I don't want to get concerned. I just want to mind my business. When they actually know they could step in and be the change in that scenario. So as a guy, first of all, as a guy, we owe a lot to the society. We owe a lot to the society, in terms of protection, in terms of guardians, in terms of security. So I'll start with sensitization. I mean, we are guys, we know people that definitely you've stayed with someone or you've been in an environment for 2, 3, or a couple length of time, you've been in an environment. You can probably know those who have tendency to even rob or to do such or to perform such acts, such as rape. It's very telling because, orientation wise and, the way you are built, home training and manners and all that, people. And sometimes maybe we are not like in that, should I call it clique? We are not in that ability to sensitize men, to sensitize women, to sensitize children. You see someone, okay, you talk, probably. Let's take for an instance, there are people that when they get drunk, they are almost totally out of character and out of order, and they are not in control. You get me? You meet those kind of people, you let them know, okay, this drink you are taking, this too much of alcohol you're taking, it's leading to a disoriented organization of yourself, of your character, and it can lead you to, because I've seen you get drunk and you were almost wilding out, and with that tendency, the person has, like with that sign actually, the person has that tendency to do something extra. So you have to, meet such people. Probably you could just, be engaging in a conversation, and then you just bring it up. Oh, learn to control yourself. Learn to, protect the women in your care. You get me? Maybe when a woman is walking past, let's say he's walking past the street and it's dark, you have to be able to watch out, to know your environment, and like you have to take responsibility. So it starts with sensitization first. Who you meet, what you say to who you meet, you have to get people enlightened, the men, the women, don't be at so place at the time.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's this video one time that I saw. I think I've seen many variants of that video. You see a guy, maybe he went out with a babe. Typically, we go out with a girl, and then it gets late. You escort her to her house, right? Maybe if she even has to walk a distance, you also want to make sure that she has gotten home safe. Her street might be very lonely and then very, very dark, scary to even to you. But based on say, maybe the one with the protector at the point, you'll be walking very boldly. Immediately you now drop her off. You now remove your slippers and start running. I just remember that, so that's what made me bring it. That the point of protection is very important.
Yeah.
Protecting protecting the people in your circle. One time I was talking to one of my bosses. He has a daughter. He was saying something. We're just talking. He said something that he makes his daughter understand that if you go to a party, he knows that you're getting to that age. If you go to a party, don't drink what you did not prepare. When you leave your drink, don't come back to drink that drink again. Drop it. That's the part of sensitization. It's also the part of standing up to people. I've on several occasions, this tout kind of guys, the type of marriage was talking about, that they don't understand what no means. They don't understand what no means. Somebody says no. Most of them is either because they are illiterate or they feel that they are being looked on or down on based on way they are at that point in life. They become aggressive. I've been in such situations and I see that I stand up to those guys. But here's how I also do it. In standing up to those guys, I also try to protect myself, because you know very well, this is a guy versus a guy kind of thing. When it crosses a certain line, it becomes physical. And then when it becomes physical, I am at risk. So even while trying to protect somebody, I also try to protect myself. Recently, I was somewhere in a shop. One guy, huge, physically looks very strong. He paid for something. The girl that is selling in the shop should not be more than 16. She looks like that kind of 14, 15-ish. 15. She shouldn't be more than 16, because I know she's still in secondary school. The guy gave his ATM to withdraw money. That time we're still having that cash then. He got debited First Bank, and then the ATM, POS, the POS was Money Point. He was debited, the girl was not credited. And he said he wants his money. This is not a case of assault, but this is actually still protecting somebody that is physically not as strong as you are. And then he says he wants his money. I walk into the shop to buy something. It's a shop I go to all of the time in my area. This guy becomes very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. And me as a guy, if I'm in that kind of situation, I don't escalate his temper at that point. This girl, she's small, tiny they shouting back at this guy. I now try to intervene. I'm blocking her, go inside. I'm talking to the guy, because the guy has already seized her POS. I'm talking to the guy. This girl is still running mouth. I'll be like, see, come, if this guy should punch you, I don't want to risk breaking my glasses. I'm trying to, you get out of it. Good enough, I had her madam's number, so I called the madam. When the madam came, I after the guy had gone and the whole thing was settled, I called the madam and said to her, speak to this girl, please. Because she almost got herself into trouble. This guy was not as furious as he was when you arrived compared to when I arrived. He was much more furious when you arrived. And it is not difficult to draw a line between that and how she responded. So I think in also protecting the people that are less than you in terms of physical strength or are vulnerable to these things, we also need to be conscious of having to also protect ourselves. Because in my case, I said I did not want to break my glasses. I beg. Is there any other point somebody wants to make? Peter, Marachi?
No, okay. Like you said something about protection. Can you hear me?
Wait, I think Amarachi wanted to say something.
No, I just wanted to say nothing. I don't have any other thing to say.
Okay. I think we can say something about men protecting themselves and all that. I think in the case of protecting, let's say, a lesser vessel from atrocities of rape, actually, there's a way to go towards it, I'd always advise every man out there, no matter how the situation is, first of all, you should try to dialogue with the parties. You should have to let them know, okay, we have this deal, like, what and what's like, what is the benefit of this? I know some people are so wild and so aggressive that they may not even. I'm just speaking from a throwback of I was working with a lady, and it was late actually, going to drop her, and boys now came out like, all those people that, your phone, you get me, and they tried to like give threats and all that, so at that point, that it's not only her life that's in danger, your life is also in danger, and you cannot outnumber like 4-5 people. So, the first way to escalate is trying to talk. Just try to see if you can bargain, or if you get me. You cannot answer violence with violence. You get me? You try to see if you can bargain or something.
That's very important.
Apart from
that's very important.
Yeah, like I said, apart from okay, let me
Okay, I don't know. I wanted us to move to the next point because our time is fast spent. Okay, so we've spoken about what guys can do. So now what can women do? Hello, Amachi?
Women as per possible victims, or women as per guardians?
No, not guardians. We'll get to guardians, not guardians. As as
Okay.
possible victims,
A fellow woman.
possible victims as friends of possible victims.
Okay, I think the advice would kind of be similar. If you've noticed at all, any female group of friends, if one person is going to use the toilet, every other person, have you guys ever wondered why that happens?
More like to protect each other, yes, to watch each other's back. It's easier for a prey to be a predator to attack a prey if the prey is single out. If the prey is in a pack or walking in a group, it's much more difficult to attack. So it makes sense that women should walk in groups if they are going out in dangerous environments or at late hours.
Exactly. So the kind of environment you're in determines the level of your safety or awareness, or how alarmed you should be about yourself. Because I was in secondary school and someone almost got raped in the toilet. If she had gone with her group of friends, that would not have happened because she would have had backup. But she was alone, the light was bad, and the guy almost got lucky. He almost had his way, but thankfully she screamed and she got help. So never be alone, especially in dangerous places or unfamiliar places. Don't be alone. Always have someone to go with you. If there's no one to go where you're going with you, you should have emergency backup. I'm not saying you should go and carry knives in your pocket. There's pepper spray. There are different things. There's a setting I put on my phone. If I tap on the lock button 3 times, it sends an SOS message to my emergency contact immediately. It will send, yes, and it will also send, yeah.
That's right.
You
I
want to
was
say
even going to mention. I was going to mention that when it comes to security, I think for iPhones,
Okay.
iPhone has that feature that their number somebody could use your phone to call in case of emergency. Not just
Yes.
iPhone. I think Androids too have it. Then there's an SOS mode where I think the SOS mode is what you're describing, where
Yes, Android has it as well.
yes, SOS messages can be sent out. Your location, your location, and then could be sent out to the people that you set that setting for. Then I think we should not also forget to mention the point of intoxication.
You need to be careful about the gatherings you're going to. The type of gatherings you're going to will determine the possibility of whatever you take in being intoxicated. For instance, if you're going to a club, whatever you're taking there can be spiked, or house parties, because sometimes even sealed drinks can also have something in it. So you just have to be very careful. If possible, eat from your house, so that no matter what they want to offer you at that party to deceive you or anything, you're already full. Yeah, that's another way to protect yourself.
Yes, that's true. Wonderful point made. So we quickly move to the next one. What can the government do? We've spoken about what men can do, what women can do. What can the government do to reduce these numbers?
They need to enforce more strict laws, and not just only enforcing the law, they implement it. All the defaulters should be, brought to book if possible. I like how the ancient people used to do. If they want to execute someone, it's on an open square so everyone sees it. So you know that when you are going for this, you've actually seen what happened. So I think that could be one way that the government can come in for me.
Yeah, I think in our first episode, I mentioned that in Nigeria we've had over 11,000 rape cases in court and less than 50 convictions. Last I checked, 33 convictions. In fact, as at 2018 or so, or 2019, it was only 18. It's between that 2019 and I think last year that we have added the rest to make it up to 33. And one of the major challenges with this conviction has always been the problem of it being that 93% of the perpetrators of these acts are familiar people. 93% of the perpetrators are familiar people. It's a very complicated kind of situation because sometimes even while the case is making progress, there's a lot of pressure from all sides since there's so much interest involved between the families and everything, there's a lot of pressure, and then next minute the suing party will now opt for out of court settlement, right? The suing party will opt for out of court settlement. But even for those that can still be tried to the end, I think the government can help in provision of security. Having a street light, having proper lighting on the street could make so much difference. Having a proper criminal justice system where cases don't have to run for years can make a lot of difference. Another thing would also be, there's something that is called rape kit. I think if somebody experiences rape and the person is taken to the hospital, there's something that is used like this. I think it's called rape kit. I don't know. Jennifer had touched on it in one of our previous episodes, that contains test apparatus and all of that for the immediate test that needs to be carried out and preventive drugs that need to be taken. So if we can have all of those, not just in big hospitals, in primary healthcare centers, we have much more primary healthcare centers than specialist and general hospitals or teaching hospitals. If we can have those in primary healthcare centers, it could help. If we can have proper education too of teenagers in secondary school, it could help to reduce both that of victims, as in reduce the number of those teenagers becoming victims and the teenagers that become perpetrators. I don't know if we get. So is there any other points that somebody else wants to add? Okay, I was also going to say something.
I will. Okay.
Sorry, Boom, you can speak.
Okay, I just wanted to add, just, from what I said previously, just the sensitization, like the National Orientation Agency, NOA, can take this topic very, very seriously. Go to schools, especially primary schools. You get me? Those grassroots schools that they don't have, they don't know what's really happening. Most of them might be molested, raped, or assaulted, and they don't even have a clue. Yeah, they may think it's normal, and they will now live with the cycle of it being normal. So I just wanted to add, more agencies should come up, more organizations, more NGOs, grassroots should be talked about, enter the streets, mobilize, sensitize, be a parlor, wherever, This matter has to be preached to every sector of the nation, every sector of the country, every nook and cranny of the country. Then that way, with the knowledge, that way, rape cases will actually be on the downside, will actually subside, with the knowledge that people have. And that's what I wanted to.
That's right. Basically, having conversations can really help. I mean, even us that are here, right? This conversation we're having is one of the ways that we can help to reduce these numbers. I remember when I spoke to somebody that, the person already knew I wanted to start a podcast. So the person was like, what's going to be your first series? And I mentioned, she was like, are you sure? That conversation is not a conversation that is typically had. You have to be very careful. Yes, I have to be very careful, but it's something that should be spoken about. Because a lot can be learnt in these conversations. As much as I felt I knew so much, I have learned so much more from learning and preparing for these conversations. You can't really completely know it all, but continuously educating people, young people, children, the society generally can help to reduce this crime. Then I think we touched on this a bit. So in continuation from there, speaking about when Amarachi was saying something about increasing or reducing the chances, she touched on parents. So we're just going to touch a bit more on what can parents, guardians, or schools do about this situation. Amarachi, would you like to speak about that?
Okay. I thought Amarachi would go, since she was, she already said something about guardianship the other time.
She was in the audience. I just brought her back on stage.
Oh.
Amarachi, did you get the question?
Okay. When it comes to parents and guardians, I think education starts from the infantry, when kids, when grown men, when we are all young. That's where education starts from. You have to be able to communicate very well with your words, with your children. You have to tell them this is right, this is wrong. If this happens to you, come and tell me. You get me? I know some parents, especially in this age. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Please, we're not just speaking about reducing the likelihood of being a victim. We're also going to speak about reducing the likelihood of being a perpetrator. We're speaking on both sides.
Okay. So parents can also, apart from that, parents can also. It's upbringing actually. It's upbringing because when the upbringing is right, the fruit will the fruit will also be right. The fruit of the child or the guardian will also be right. So I expect parents or guardians to sit with their words, tell them what is right, tell them what is wrong, tell them what needs to be reported, tell them what needs to be done in such circumstances. I know it's a very difficult topic to actually teach, but it is very, very necessary. Very, very necessary. So I'll just a father-child interaction or a mother-child interaction. And also parents should also be wary of the type of association the child keeps. I think that's also as essential as talking to the child or the world. Parents should be aware, like as they are going out to play in the evening, as they are going out to school, who are their friends? What are their friends learning? What are they imbibing? Character can easily be contacted, so very, very necessary. You keep an eye on your ward. Oh, when your senior cousin is here, oh, when your uncle is here, oh, or when their uncles are here, oh, when an outsider is here. You get me? You have to be very, very watchful and very vigilant.
Thanks very much, Boom, for that point. Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it, right? So training from first part is very important. And also, we also know that the same Bible says that bad communication corrupts good manners. So even when a child is properly brought up, you also have to be watchful of what kind of communication, what kind of relationships that child keeps outside. That's why I don't subscribe to the mindset where somebody does something and then you be like, what is my business? Whether we admit it or not, as human beings living in this world, we're all dependent on one another. What you do affects me. What I do affects you. If I don't raise my child right, my child will be your child's classmate. You get? So in one way or another, your actions will somehow affect me. It's like even living in a place where you have neighbors that are into crimes and all of that. The day they are going to be picked up as suspects, law officers or enforcers might also be looking in your direction as a suspect too, by possible association. So that's a very important point. And then, I was also going to say something. In one of Dr. Jordan Peterson's speech, a clinical psychologist in Canada, he said something one time that the aim of, as a parent, your target, your aim should be to train your child that by age 4, that child is sociable and acceptable amongst other children. That child is able to mix. And then it is also said that bulk of child development is character development here, in terms of that early stage character development, really stops around 8. Before the one that happens in puberty and teenage years, it stops around 8. So even when you're training a child to not fall victim, training a child to not be a perpetrator is important at that infant stage. A child should be able to understand what no means. Child should be able to also say no. So it is not, even if it is by denying that child of something, child wants this, you say no. And that child should be able to know that, I'm not getting this, and not throwing tantrums. Because there are children that grow up that way and grow into adulthood like that. They don't understand what no means. They think that for every request they make, they should get a yes. So I think that's also important. At that early stage, children are taught to understand what no means. Else, they will not understand what consent means, because consent just is a step above that. So, I don't know, Amarachi, is there something else you want to say?
So I've been trying to remember this song that we used to sing about. Encompasses everything in our course. I don't know where.
Hello?
Yes, Boom, I can hear you. Boom, I can hear you. I was saying that
Okay.
I think you want to say something too.
Can you hear
Amarachi, are
me?
you back? Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. So I was saying that there's a song that I'm trying to remember that encompasses everything that we've been discussing today. But I don't know why I can't remember it. It's a very popular song actually. But anyways, I feel there's not much I can add to what you said from my own perspective, because I feel like you hit the nail on the head.
We're going to look at the next point. So we're going to look at the next point is real life situations or behaviors that could make young people become victims of either real rape, false rape accusations, or even sex offenders, that's perpetrators. So if you could cite maybe real examples, it could help, of behaviors that are common amongst young people. I don't know who wants to go first.
I think I will go first. Yeah. Okay. So there are, although it's not right. I can never say it's right, because obviously what's wrong is wrong. But I tend to see a lot of young people now, young persons now. The guy will say, once I spend on her, I get sex in return. And the girl, for most of them, what they say is, let's just go and chop his money. So especially if you follow the media a lot, you will see, I think this week we had 2 cases where I think it was predominantly ladies were killed in a hotel or something. The other one was killed beside a pool. And the other one, I think they found the body inside the hotel room. So all those thoughts of, oh, let me just go eat his money. The other one will say, let me spend and expect to get something. For me, it's a very bad thought. It's a very bad thought. You shouldn't be spending money to get something in return. And also, you shouldn't be willingly saying, oh, my friends, because at the end of the day, the world is transactional. For them, especially the guys, they believe that once they spend, some of those guys, they believe that once they spend, they need to get something. So the situation gets very, very complicated. So I think people should just do away with the mindset that they have, the bad negative mindset that they have. And I think it would also help, because I stayed in the Delta State, from 2021 to 2. I stayed in Delta State, and I witnessed a lot of this. So, and the statistics there was very bad, because a young girl from I saw kids. There was a day I went out in the evening to get something. There's a hotel near my house. So I went out to get something. I saw kids of, I don't think the eldest was even up to 17. The eldest was like about 14 or thereabout. He just went into the, and also government have to, I go back to the other point, government have to put strict rules on all this stuff, because how can you be allocating rooms to underage? How can you be allocating rooms to underage? It's not even something of underage. There were about at least 10 young persons there lodging. Obviously, they can't pay for more than one room. Going back to what we were saying, I think it's a thing of mindset. Once we change our mindset, once we are more truthful, once we are more sincere to people, once we, discuss what we think with others, I think we will have a lot of improvement in this area. Yeah, that is what I have to contribute.
Yes, those are very valid points. I think young men have a lot of re-education to do. The mindset of thinking that you can buy somebody's desire or negotiate somebody's desire with financial inducement should never be encouraged. Transactional relationships, yes. Even if we say relationships are not transactional, really can we say? Because almost every relationship that we have in one form or the other is I scratch your back, you scratch my back. But there are cases, there are certain treatments that are much more typically reserved for people in certain relationships, or that we relate to in certain ways. For instance, I think in our first or second episode, I mentioned something about a young girl that I knew that met a man on a Sunday. The man gave her a free ride. By Friday, she went out to see the man in the lounge of a hotel, and the man had already paid for a room for her 3 bottles of alcohol. And she was still saying that she thought the man just wanted to talk. This is a man that is almost 2 times your age. He's in his late 30s. You're barely 20. You're not up to 23. You're about 20, 21. What kind of talking? What kind of value? You're not going to bring business to him. You're not going to bring money to him. We should do away with the mindset of I want chop am, or for the guys, I want collect 3 points, I want log in. It doesn't make sense, because it is only going to create situations like this where this side is trying to outsmart the other side, and the other side is trying to outsmart this side. And that's why we now have rape cases where it's always familiar people, not really strangers, right? Because this person feels cheated. Or sometimes it's not even that. It could be a case of regretted sex, or she felt she was coerced or something. More like when maybe I need money, I call Peter, Alpha, I need money. Peter says, I no get. I call again, guy, I beg now. He say he still talks, I no get. I can't be like, you remember that time where I will give you? Try to the wine am, that kind of thing. Make him finally agree. You get? Make you no be say tomorrow you wake up say I will rob am, collect the money. Because some of these situations actually play out like that. So that's a very valid point. Because if the guy has spent, he's hoping to get something back. And if you no get that, he might choose to apply force. If he does not have that restraint, or does not have that self-resolve to know that there are certain lines that should never be crossed. I don't know if there's any other point or angle somebody else wants to discuss this from. Yeah, boom.
Yeah, Peter, I didn't hear your former question well.
Okay, so the question is there any real life situation or behavior that you know that could make young people become victims of real rape, false rape accusations, or even sex offenders? So far, the points that myself and Peter have given covers for victims of real rape and sex offenders. How about false rape accusations? Is there any situation, that somebody could, real life situation or behaviors that could make somebody become a victim of a false rape accusation?
Okay, first of all, I would say there's really no trait of someone that is falsely accused. Actually, there's no inbuilt trait. It could be maybe the person was at the wrong place at the wrong time. There are cases, like you said the other day, there's a popular case of, I think, Dr. Fumilayo. What happened is that, he didn't agree with the girl about dating her, and, he was just falsely accused. So I don't think on this like that people who suffer from false rape abuse actually exhibit a trait, It's just out of circumstances. Maybe they want to be friends. Maybe they are at the wrong place. Maybe they're with the wrong person, most especially. But my advice for people who are actually false accused, men or women, first of all, is always know the type of person you are dealing with. Know the type of person you are in a relationship with. Know the type of person you are going out with. You don't just meet someone today and go out with the person to a lounge or a hotel. It doesn't work that way. So that's it. I don't think they will exhibit the traits, because actually nobody will actually have something that will always put them in that box of always being falsely accused or falsely accused.
Yeah, boom. It's as if you spoke my mind. It's as if you were reading my mind. I was going to say it is very important to know the kind of person you're dealing with. Ultimately, when it comes to that, it does not really depend on you as much as it depends on the other person. In our parting words, I'll point out some things that could serve as incentive for somebody to target you for such kind of crime. But then, it is important to know who you're dealing with. Watch out for certain characters. No go dey talk say conjina bastard, they work out with person wey no get sense. You get that kind of thing. So it's important to know who you're dealing with. So you don't there's this thing that they say that you don't bring ant infested or termite infested wood into the house and then act surprised when you see lizards come visiting. If you bring somebody that has bad traits, bad behavior, somebody that is vengeful, that could go to any extent when scorned or when the person does not get his way or her way, you bring that kind of person close to you, maybe you should really not act surprised when lizards, in this case false accusations, start coming close to you. So I think that's for that. So quickly, we're going to do more like parting words for the audience based on what we've discussed over the last 3 episodes and today. Can you just give maybe brief summaries? Just a run through. More like points to guide young people as per in this case we've basically discussed this in 3 categories: the victims, the perpetrators, and those that are falsely accused. So is there any parting words for youths to make sure that sort of guide them so they don't fall into any of these 3 categories?
Okay, parting words would be very, I don't know how to classify it, but I'll just generalize it. First of all, it's you know yourself. Man, know thyself. Know your capabilities. And in so doing, you know what you can attract, you know what you can do. And be very, very conscious. For the victims, you have to be very, very conscious. Your consciousness should be your watchword. You get me? When you're conscious, that sort of way, you'll be able to uphold responsibilities. Be aware of your environment. Be aware of people. You get me? Those are the two things that make up the environment, the people, and the setting around you. You get me? Have an in-depth knowledge of who you are going out with, of what time you should be coming back. If your area is not safe, as a victim, that should be your watchword. And then as a perpetrator, I don't know what I'll say, desist. I think I'll use the word desist. You should be able to have self-discipline, You should be able to discipline yourself. If Konji is holding you, my brother, go and say that Konji will not kill you. You get me? I'm not someone that, authorizes or, you get me, believes in sex workers. But you can go and pay and, do whatsoever you want to do. But you have to be self-disciplined, know how to.
I was going to ask if you don't know about the oldest profession.
If you can't do that, just go and sleep, go and read your Bible, read books, get yourself distracted. That inner voice that is telling you, oh, you see this girl, almost she fine, she too the racial skate, she too the waka, just forget about it. It doesn't make sense, you're robbing someone of his or her humanity. You get me? So just learn to control yourself for the perpetrator and for falsely accused people. First of all, seek. I think I'll just put that across the board. Anyhow, victim, perpetrator, falsely accused. First of all, seek a professional. You get me? If it's a therapist or a medical professional, when things like that happen or when things like that pop into your head, or you're encountered with false allegations, talk to someone. Tell someone. Have witness, have documents to witness, just talk to someone, tell the person what transpired. You can be helped. Sometimes some situations may be out of your hand, fully out of your hand. If you are falsely accused, talk to a therapist, talk to a legal practitioner. Try to prove that you didn't do this. Detach yourself from whosoever is Because if you are falsely accused, detach yourself from the person. Because for someone to falsely accuse you of it means the person does not like you a bit. So that's my own take.
All right. Thank you very much, Boom, for that very expansive summary. Peter, is there something you'd like to say?
Yeah. For me, rape is a very broad topic, very very broad, and so for starters, we should all go back to the family. Yeah, the family is the roots where everything starts. I know some people can say, what of orphans that didn't grow up to meet their parents? I still think whether you're an orphan, whether you saw your parents, whether you saw only one parent, single parent, divorce, whatever, still go back to family, and also kind of a guardian setting. We should invest more. We should invest more. That's why I keep stressing that people should know the reason before they marry. It's not just because as it stands, most people marry for benefit or what they can achieve through the marriage. People should look at marriage plan and also be actively invested in their kids' life. So if as a family we can, of course, obviously everyone came out from a family. If as a family we could sit down and talk to our kids, let them know this is good, this is bad, as pertains to rape, and other times not only rape, other stuff, financial management, how you present yourself, and the rest. But here we're talking about rape. So if the family could, as a unit, educate their kids, tell them what not to do, tell them the situations, and also most importantly, they speak up, because I think raping kids, one of the high reasons it occurs is because these kids can't speak up. So they know the parts of their body, they know when to set boundaries. Your uncle or a stranger shouldn't be touching you anyhow, and also you're keeping quiet. You can't at least tell your parents. So, and that's aside. So no matter how we, just like in safety, no matter how much you try to make sure an area is safe, accidents, hazards, incidents still occur. So the same thing happens when it comes here. No matter how we do it as a family, it still occurs. So once it occurs, the first thing you need to do is seek help. Yeah, seek help. You visit a counselor, you visit a fatherly figure. Some people can't really talk to their parents, to be honest. So you just need to visit someone. Talk to the person, get counseling, evaluate why it happened. And throughout this show, this first season, we have touched on those points. We have buttressed on those points. So go over it and then make sure that you don't find yourself in those instances again. And also, like Amarachi said, you can set up some emergency stuff on your phone that can, send locations, and also pepper spray for women. I know some people will say it doesn't matter how someone dresses. That's for women. It doesn't matter how someone dresses. I still think the eye has a way of playing with our head. So in as much as one shouldn't be moved by what you wear and even think of rape, yeah, that's very awkward. Even think of rape. We have to also look at it from this angle that it's not everyone that is wired the same. Some people's mentality are very degraded to the point that it's more degraded than the naira at the moment, how it's going down. So we should also put those people in perspective, because it's not everyone that will look at someone wearing and dressing skimpily and then just move their eyes about it. So these are some of the things I have to throw in. Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to just wrap mine. I'll say my own side. So for victims, I said something in our first or second episode that your security is most especially your own concern than it is any other person's concern. There are some security tips that you can use. Marachi had said some. Know the kind of parties you go to. Don't say I'm an adult. In fact, you being an adult is why we have what is called the age of consent. Say that the age of consent is the age of responsibility. You're responsible for yourself. You're supposed to be responsible for the kind of parties you go to. Again, I mentioned outcomes. Decisions determine outcomes to a very large extent. a lot of these things can be controlled. You also have to look at your security. If for a single lady staying alone, I don't know if this is really applicable to environments like ours here in Nigeria, but mailboxes use initials. Don't use your name. Don't use your name, because if you use your name, since it's a feminine name, it's a girl's name, it might be a point that this person could be staying alone or something like that. It could make you a soft target. It could make you for such crimes. There's also this one. I mentioned something last week that false accusations happened in two ways, either because of forgetfulness, wrong memory, or deliberate attempt to ruin the other person. In the case of forgetfulness, not just because of false accusations, but for the sake of real cases too, practice being observant. No, just observe things. Model of cars, plate numbers. The other day I was with my guy. We're coming back from somewhere, so we had this car that gave us a lift. He dropped off before me. Immediately he dropped off. We had already taken note of the people that were in the car. I remember what model of car it is. It was. He had taken a picture of the plate number, because that way it makes it that if anything happens, this thing can be easily traced, and we know that we are getting the right person convicted and not somebody else. Justice does not just exist to imprison people for crimes committed. It exists to imprison the right person for the crime committed. Because I was reading something earlier this week. In law, it's regarded, I'm not a professional in law, but a lawyer wrote it, it's regarded that it is better for 99 criminals to walk free than for one innocent to be convicted. So practice being observant and memorizing things. If you're living alone, a big house, or maybe there's nobody else in the house, you could live, if you sleep with the light on, and the house is a big house, and you're alone in that house, then don't leave the light on in only one room. If there's like 5-6 rooms, leave it on in like 2 or 3. Put the security light on too. That way, if somebody is coming in and sees light on in more than one room, the person might not really be able to know how many people are in that house at that point in time. And even if the person knows it's only you, the person is not sure which room you're in, right? So your security is very important. For children, it is important that parents strive to have very good relationships with their children. Your children should tell you everything, or as much as you can get them to tell you. Get to have very good relationship with your children. Have these discussions so they know what should be done to them and what cannot be done to them. And then for false accusation, so I've looked at victims, women and children. For false accusations, as a rich or famous man, we'd already seen that you're going to be prone to false accusations if you're not careful. So you're going to have to be very careful of associations. Don't associate with people of questionable character in some way, because like I said, you can't be bringing back a log of wood that is be infested by termites and not expect to have lizards visit you. You have to live a very responsible life and then learn to keep receipts, just like ladies have to be conscious of environment more than, not necessarily more than guys, but they have to be conscious of the environment. You learn to keep receipts. Don't just be living life carelessly. It could make you a soft target, because already your class of person is vulnerable to this crime or to this situation of being falsely accused. For the perpetrators, learn to take no for no. Boom said something very important. It might sound like a joke. Konji no dey kill person. You no get anybody in the history of this life that has ever died from Konji. I have not even checked it, but I can bet my savings that nobody has ever died from Konji. So, would you rather commit a crime over what cannot kill you and go to jail for 14 years or 20-something years than just sleep? Boom said it, sleep. Sleep, nothing go do you. You no go die. If you don't patronize the people that work at on the streets, the hookers and all of that. Go sleep, you no go die. If person say no, no na no. Take it for an answer and move on. Learn to approach people. Again, that's also another point. Learn to approach people rightly. Don't go trying to do some transactional kind of approach that I spend on you and I get this in return. Except you have clearly agreed that this is what you're doing. Not the one that there's no communication. This one, they chop this one this way. The other one chop the other way. It doesn't make sense. It only sets up for this kind of crimes. And then it makes it even worse because in this case, there's already some sort of relationship. And that's what makes trying these cases even more difficult. In closing, I'd like to make my last point, reading from a short thread on Clio on Twitter, posted in the course of the week. He said, I know we've all moved on as usual, but I hope the event of the past few days forces us to reflect. Reflect on how wickedness is gender agnostic. In the same month, where two women, Olamide and Rakia, were defrauded by men they cared for, 18k and 11k pounds respectively. In the same month, two men were cleared of false rape allegations. When Dr. Olufumilayo sent me the PDF of his vindication, 54 pages. 54 pages of an independent tribunal dismantling the lies of a scorned witch. They found no account she delivered in the 3 years to be true. Don't allow the trauma of your past drive you down the lane of blatant hate for the other gender. The best of men are still men. The worst of men are still men. The best of women are still women. And the worst of women are still women. There'll always only be two genders. We're all we've got. Now, this is very necessary because the girl I mentioned in episode 2 that said all men do is go about raping women. Of course, she already harbors a certain level of hate for men. And then there are some men that have chosen to go their own way that don't want to have anything to do with women for many reasons, including the fact that women are the ones that level false rape allegations against men. I think it is important that we take note that this series is not meant to say that one gender is bad or both genders are bad. Wickedness is gender agnostic. Let's go with that. So I think that's all from me. Amarachi, is there anything else you want to say? We're talking about parting words for the audience, a recap of the last 4 episodes.
Okay. I would just like to say that, we've been talking about this topic for the past how many weeks now? And I'm sure by now everyone knows what it's about. Preventive measures and steps to take, whether as a victim or someone that knows a victim. It's not something that should be taken lightly. It's not something that should be disregarded. It's something that should be given optimum attention, because this thing doesn't only affect the person physically, it also affects the person mentally, emotionally, psychologically, like in different ways. So we need to all tread with caution. Victim, predator, we all need to tread with caution. And people doing that to people, I don't see what you gain in doing that, like in hurting others.
Thanks very much, everyone, for sticking through. To our guest, we thank you very much, Peter, Boom, Marachi, and Jennifer, unfortunately, who could not be with us today due to some engagements that she had. We'd like to encourage you to follow us on social media, Titi by Wiz, that's TTBYWIZZZ, on Instagram and TikTok, and then you can follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Put the Triumphant Tribe podcast on Spotify and on YouTube. That way you can get notified whenever we make new episodes of insightful conversations like this, because we're going to try to keep you abreast with new episodes every week. God help us. And then quick introduction to our next series. Next month we're going to have about four episodes or so of insightful conversations surrounding internet fraud, what is popularly called Yahoo. We're going to be having the conversations around that, and it's really going to be mind-blowing. Good point, and the conversations are going to be very expansive. So do well to follow us. Thanks very much for sticking through. See you. Bye, guys.